everybody, and welcome to the 52 Scott Podcast for another episode of Black Friday. I'm your host, K Money, and in the building with me, my co-host, Freddie G, Slash, and Comedian 96. Collectively, we are the Mind of Men. You can find us on Twitter at 52 Scott Podcast, Instagram and Facebook, the 52 Scott Podcast. And if you're on YouTube, please don't forget to like and subscribe. What's up, fellas? Welcome to another Black Friday episode. You know, there's been several topics where we've discussed racism on our shows, and I feel like there's one that we kind of excluded, not intentionally, but I guess we just never thought about it, and I figure we can discuss it today if you guys even feel or think that this is something that's going on, which is black on black racism. First, going around the table, do you guys think that black on black racism exists?
I think in a lot of cases, yes, it does. I probably can't tell you a situation where I've experienced it because, again, you can't see it because it's the same color. So it's harder to identify. I think same color, racism. I
mean, you say it's hard to see, but I can give one example to where I'm sure it's evident where and this happens majority of the time in the hood. You can go in the store and say it's a black-owned business, and they may, look at you and stare at you while you're shopping, if you're shopping, but just because you're just walking around, lingering inside the business, they can feel it or stereotype you as possibly wanting to commit crime or something on that level. So I can see that as possibly being an example of black on black racism.
Yeah.
I disagree.
You disagree? Go ahead, Freddie G.
I think that's prejudice.
Prejudice? If a black-owned business?
Black-owned business, they see you come in, and they have a preconceived opinion about you based upon your look.
Well, ain't that a stereotype as well?
Yeah, it's a prejudice. It's a type of prejudice versus racism.
So in that case, I'll tell you, if we look at it this way, I think black on black racism is just equivalent as black on black crime. Because obviously you hating on this person of your own race because of whatever the case is, whatever he have, whatever you don't have. That seems to me like it would be black on black racism.
I think that when you're looking at it from a black on black crime standpoint, crime is about proximity. Mm-hmm. And so proximity and opportunity. So if, let's say the crime is always, for the most part, listen, it's a sexual crime. It's always about the dollar.
Right.
And so a crime that's involving the dollar, don't care what color the race is, it's about the dollar. So crime is about proximity. Mm-hmm. Now, what I do think is black on black racism, I'm going to say that again, black on black racism. That's how Africans view American black men.
I agree.
That's black on black.
Yeah, that's one.
That's black on black racism. I agree with
that. Okay, what about this? I don't know if you guys seen the Breakfast Club interview with Tyrese, and he stated that he would rather be Mexican because he don't want to be black no more. And I'm gonna be honest with him. Sometimes in some situations, I feel him what he's saying. He said basically, we're not family oriented anymore. We're not family. We pull each other down. We don't help each other out. To where other cultures they do, right? They're more family. You say same thing I always say. You can move a bunch of Hispanics in the same house, no problems. A bunch of Asians, a bunch of other cultures. But if you put a bunch of black people and move them in the house, they're going to be talked about until they move out.
Within the house.
Within the house. So it's not a togetherness. There's no family orientation anymore. And I feel him on that. But I want to be black. That's the problem. I love being black.
I think that statement, I understand what he's saying, but I think that you're taking it out of context. Let me tell you why.
Why?
I think that he is fascinated with the stereotypes that's associated with Hispanic. one of the stereotypes that's associated with Hispanics is that they have a togetherness. Well, that could be debunked based upon all of the Chicanos having a problem. And I think the Chicanos, if I'm not mistaken, are the ones, the Mexicans that are born in America versus the ones that are actually from Mexico.
Yes.
And so
Puerto Rico don't like Mexico.
Kind of like the same with Africans and Black Americans.
There's from another race when you're on the outside looking in and you're lining up and you're associating and you're believing these stereotypes without using common sense. Now I'm not talking shit about Tyrese, but let's use common sense here.
Right.
We know that, hey man, everything that's associated with a particular race may not always apply. But for some reason, we got this belief that Hispanics are together and blacks are not. I can tell you this. I've been in a situation. Matter of fact, right now, let me just put it to you this way. It's 4 of us right now that's together.
Right.
And we show togetherness.
Yes.
So, but there's a disbelief that blacks can't be together and Hispanics are sticking together. That's not always the case.
I agree.
No,
agree.
it's not. But on a larger scale, when it comes to the whole culture, that's where that lies. Because I've seen Mexicans, Hispanic, Latino, whatever, like Comedian 96 was saying, they can all live in the same house for a long time. They help each other. They go half on everything. You do the same thing, and it's sad, but this been going on for a long time. You put a bunch of black people in the same house, somebody gonna be short on the rent.
Right.
Somebody gonna want you to help them with their portion of getting the groceries.
Exactly.
And I'm sure this happens in other cultures also.
Ethnicities, yeah.
But we are the most when it comes to that. You know what I'm saying? We do the most when it comes to I don't have this, I don't have that. We make more excuses than the Mexicans because they gonna go and get a job wherever they can. We gonna make all kind of excuses why we can't go work at McDonald's.
You ain't lying. And you, man, it's so funny we having this conversation. I also notched another interview with Charleston White. Now this, I don't really never listen to him, and I don't have any proof of this because I've been to jail, but I ain't been to jail. So, in prison, I ain't been to prison. He said, man, when people come in prison, when the whites come in. There's white people to meet the new people that come in and show them, get their bag and take them to where they need to go. When Asians and Hispanics, they'll meet them, show them. He said, but the blacks, when the blacks come in, they got to figure it out.
You got to figure it out. Find your way.
Ain't nobody to meet them. I don't know how true that is. I ain't been to jail, but that was from Charleston.
I think that happens with all races in prison, and I also believe that blacks in prison do look out for one another.
Stick together more so.
Not until, and that's what he said, not until they learn your charge. They don't meet you the first day. They say they got to learn your charge first because if you mess up with a kid, they going to be.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Even with the Mexicans and the whites, when they learn their charge, they treat them Mexicans bad. Mexican on Mexican when they learn their charge.
They treat them that way depending on that charge.
So what charge?
That's
usually a child.
Prison wide though, right?
Now let me show you something. If they treating them like that on a charge that, especially something child, something whatever it was, like raping a child, that's in their culture. They do that shit. You know what I mean? From the young girls are 12 years old most of the time, and it's been going on in their community for a long time. So I don't see why once they get in jail, now you're going to treat them different because you're in jail now.
Right, this is something that you guys been doing.
Yeah.
But it happens, though.
Yeah, I agree.
That shit's crazy.
Let me ask you guys this. Do y'all think being color-stricken is a form of black-on-black racism?
When you say color-stricken, do you mean dark-skinned, light-skinned?
Yeah,
exactly. That's exactly what I'm speaking on.
Yeah, because you have people that's like that. You have some people who prefer, darker skinned people. You have some people that prefer the light skinned people. I think that's a form of racial I do think that's racial because the skin tone.
What about a preference? It's not racial. Look. I like
Preference.
the lighter.
But when we say
Oreo
preference,
cookies
that's
than
like
the
dating.
chocolate one.
That's a dating preference.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay.
Because you could like a skinny girl or a big girl.
True that.
It's okay to have preference sexually, but life term, you say, "Oh, I'd rather help the light skinned man before I help the dark skinned."
No. I'm talking.
That's
about
what I
dating.
think we're going.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But I wanted to
no.
ask you, Freddie G,
Yeah.
because you mentioned in the first example that you felt that was being prejudiced.
Yeah, I think the same thing about this.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask, because it does sound more prejudiced.
I think it being prejudiced because there's a preconceived opinion about another person,
Right.
not based on reason or experience. Period. So, let me show you something. I'm a dark-skinned brother. I can walk somewhere, and because I'm dark-skinned and another black person look at me, I can probably appear a little intimidating and less friendly looking.
Right.
I agree.
Versus somebody who's a little light skinned and fair skinned,
Look
and
friendly
they
to them
and they don't look threatening, but only because of my skin.
Tone.
What it is, there's a prejudice about a dark skinned
Right.
individual. That's just like there's a prejudice about a light skinned person, where a dark skinned person can look at like, oh, that nigga old soft ass nigga over there. Oh, that nigga got wavy hair. And you know what I'm saying? And so there's a prejudice that the dark skinned person have about the light skinned person. So that's not racism. That's just a prejudice that you have, and you a prejudice not based on any reason or experience from this person.
So, with that being a prejudice, we know that it's a difference in racial. I still don't think that it's okay to be prejudiced on skin tone.
Maybe
Let me ask this then. On the same scenario where I'm speaking of being color stricken, I can remember back in the day. I can't think how far back, but when light skin was in,
yeah.
that's the '80s, I believe.
Yeah.
I can remember hearing stories where highly light skinned folks wouldn't even date their own race. They preferred to date outside of their race because of the negative flack that black people got. So would you consider that to be prejudice and not racism just because of their
Well, you're saying back in the day, you only speaking of the 80s, or you going back further?
Well, I'm saying the '80s because I can remember that's when light skin was in. Al B. Sure and things.
So you're saying that they don't want to date within the black race, not even light skin on light skin.
Right, not even
They
light
just
skin. They
wanna date
prefer
white.
white
I
outside
think-
their race because
I'm sorry, go
of
ahead.
the negative flack that black people get.
Yeah, that. I don't think that that's a form of racism. I think that that's a coward. I think that individual wants to be looked at in a certain light and don't want to be put in a certain class of people. Let me show you something. I'm dark skinned.
Yes, sir.
I don't want to be classified as a hood nigga, but I'm from the hood. But I don't want to be classified as ghetto, but I'm from the ghetto.
Right.
Yep.
And I don't want to be lumped into that. I think that people who, like, if you're dating outside your race just because you want to be viewed in a certain light, in a certain light to others, because you are ashamed of your race, you may be ashamed, but I don't know if that's considered racism, because I think when I think of racism, I think that there's a true deep hatred of a particular race.
Now, let me add on to the color stricken K-Money that you was talking about. There was once a time in Hollywood, everywhere, music, movies, you couldn't be a dark-skinned person on TV.
Yeah.
You had a lighter skin, it was easier for you to make it rather than it was being dark-skinned.
Yep.
And those were white people running that. Is that a prejudice? Because that's not racial. They know that person black.
But
That's-
you know what?
It's not a
When
racist.
they start putting them on there, Isaiah Washington's, the Wesley Snipes, at the beginning, New Jack City, the darker ones were the bad ones. They were the bad ones. If you think about it, Lalea's daddy.
Not
he's
so
the
much.
bad ones. Those
Well,
are-
we know
I don't know his
we
name.
know since the beginning, man, that you associate that darker is associated with bad,
bad,
and light is associated with good.
Yeah.
Right. But I think that when you come to television, and what you're speaking of, Slash, is the brown paper bag test. That's what it was. You had to pass that brown paper bag test.
If you was darker than that bag, you was out of
and
there.
so and so I think what that was, when it comes to the producers in Hollywood and all of that stuff, that's because they felt like America wasn't ready to accept that, because we're in the money making business. So if we show this person on TV or in this movie at this color,
We might not
then
make
we
that
might
money.
not we might
Yeah.
not make that money, because America ain't ready for that. That's just like it took a long time for America to accept interracial relationships, to really truly accept interracial relationship on television, because hey, we want to make some money. Now on the flip side of that, you had white people in black face,
Right.
Yeah.
but that's to make a mockery.
Yep. That's what that was for.
That's racial.
Yeah, that
Of
is
course.
crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
So, is it possible that someone can be racist but not prejudiced?
Yeah, I think so.
I
I think you can be racial because I can hate white people but love black folks, and that's it would be a prejudice if I didn't like a certain color of a black person, right?
I think that you can be. I'm sorry.
The question was, can someone be racist but not prejudiced? Because
I
I
don't
think it's a
I
very
don't-
thin line.
Yeah, it is. I don't think you can.
I see what you're saying.
I don't think you. I think if you're racist, you're prejudiced. But I think that if you're prejudiced, there's a chance that you may not be a racist.
Right. So what he's saying, the best way to put it is, if you're racist to a specific.
Yeah, if you're racist,
Right.
you are prejudiced.
No,
but
no,
if you're but if you're prejudiced, you don't necessarily
Necessarily.
have to be a racist.
you just might be prejudiced to the culture and not to a particular color of person. You get what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you might not like, that's all they do is shake their ass in black culture or white culture. Man, that's all they do is country line dance. We might be
That's a
prejudiced to that,
prejudice, yeah.
but that doesn't mean we don't like white people. So we might be prejudiced to a culture, but not racist.
Yeah, you could be prejudiced and not racist, but you can't be racist,
Racist
and not
not
prejudiced.
prejudice.
Okay, I'm gonna read something. I put in the difference between prejudice and racist, and one of the first things that popped up, it shows racism is a form of prejudice that generally includes negative emotional reactions, acceptance of negative stereotypes, and discrimination against. And then the definition of what is racism, it says more than prejudice, it's discrimination with power. So I mean, it's like what you just said.
Again, you say it echo what I said.
Yeah.
It echo what I said.
I agree. It definitely does. And I never thought about that. If one could be racist and not prejudiced, or vice versa. And you pretty much said it in a nutshell, Freddie G. Unfortunately, the world we live in, we like I said, we talked about hidden racism, white power, black power, and all of that falls up under this umbrella of racism or prejudice, in my opinion. How can we get away from it? Is the question. The black on black crime.
No, the black on black racism. That's what we were talking about.
Right.
Because not the. It's easy to go down there when you're speaking of racism and prejudice. It's easy to end up making it about one race against another race. But for this show,
Right.
it's black on black.
Yeah.
And and I can tell how the conversation, and this is unconsciously
Right.
because of what we deal with in America. I can tell that the show is starting to shift
From one color.
on color versus color.
Right.
When the actual show is black on black.
On black.
And the example I gave on black is how some African folk look at black people in America. That's racism on how a lot of them look at us.
Yeah, I remember school days.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a scene in School Days. It was actually a musical scene, but
Good and
they were
bad
talking
hair.
about good and bad hair.
Yeah.
You know, light skin, of course, had the fine, nice hair, and,
Yeah.
and the jigaboos, as they were called, had the nappy.
The cuckabugs.
Yeah. How would you define that action right there? Because I see the prejudice in that.
So let me tell you how I define that. That only applies in America because there's interracial. A lot of times when you got hair like that, that's because of an interracial relationship and what we looked upon as being fair skin and good hair and all that stuff. But you go over to Africa, all that hair is the same. There's no such thing as good hair, bad hair.
Well, there are bright skinned people in Africa. There are lighter skinned.
There are white people in Africa.
Kenya,
in Africa.
Kenya.
But what I'm saying is, I don't think that they, for the majority and all, I don't think that they recognize it like we do it
Right.
here.
I see what you're
We're
saying.
here saying good hair, bad hair. I don't think that they do it like that over there.
I would have to be over there to actually see that.
Can't make that call.
Okay, so let me ask you this: is Egypt in Africa?
Yes.
Yes.
Who's over there in Egypt?
Blacks
Egyptians.
and whites.
Okay, what the hair look like? For the most,
White people got
the most,
stringy hair.
Yeah, for the most people that you saw over there in Egypt, what their hair look like? Because Egypt is in Africa, right? Do you think that they had a conversation of good hair, bad hair?
Probably not.
No.
I don't know.
Probably
not.
not.
Again, I just feel like that's a touchy subject.
They got more things to worry about.
And
than
what's going
hair.
on over there, we really don't know because I've seen light skinned people over there that are African, that are fully African people. They not from America. It's the same thing. It's dark and light skinned people over there as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's just a prejudice against American blacks.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Rather
I think
than-
it only go on here.
With
Yeah.
yeah.
It only go on
Yeah,
in here.
they not really prejudiced against their own people over there.
Not only that, they got more things to worry about than some dang on hair.
Yeah.
Trust me.
It's American black because of the culture. We don't know their culture. You know what I mean? They it's crazy, man. It's a touchy subject. But I heard something about how do we move forward or
And get away from the
and
black.
get away from that. Man, it's going to be a long time before that happens. I truly think what we as black people got to do first off is not look at everybody so differently, other black people as being different. I think that's our problem. We all the same.
It's easier said than done, you know, when you have a light complected, a light skinned person that gets a position over a dark skinned person,
Right.
and the dark skinned person is more qualified than that light skinned person. What would you call that?
Hate.
I mean, we've talked about this on previous shows,
So-
but this
so
gives a reason for.
sometimes, if let's say they're equally qualified,
Okay, let's say they're equally
they're equally qualified. The only difference is that one is dark and the other is light.
right.
That's the preference of the hirer. Sometimes people just want to hire people who they think is beautiful,
That's the power.
and some people
In it.
just this person is good looking. So let me show you something. If you had a receptionist, would you put two people coming in for a receptionist job? Now they both are equally qualified. The difference is one have a full set of teeth and the other one missing the whole top row. Now the receptionist is the one that's sitting up front.
That's everybody
That
see.
greets
see
everybody
coming
that comes in.
So who you gonna put up there? The one with a full set of teeth or the one with no teeth in the mouth?
Full set of teeth.
So that right there alone, that's the preference of the person who's hiring.
It's only right to put the full set of teeth
Yeah, I
in the
totally
front.
agree with that.
Well, no, it's not right. It's not only right. Let me tell you why. It's not only right. I understand what you're saying, but if they're equally qualified, now it's at your discretion to whether or not I get a job. Now let's flip this. Let's say the one with no teeth is more qualified than the person with a full set of teeth, but the person with a full set of teeth is trainable. Now you got a person here that's trainable that's going to take me about a week or 2 or 2 weeks to get them up to speed. I got someone right here that's
That can do the
qualified and
job
ready.
right
Let's
now.
get it going right now.
Well, in that situation, it's your discretion who you choose. But you must remember that when the people come in, this is what they're looking at.
Yeah.
So what you need to have is the benefit for dental plan for this person. I mean, I'm serious. If you want people to come into your establishment and respect you as a boss in your establishment, you better put somebody with a full set of teeth in the front of your establishment.
So what was the initial question that brought this about?
Well, I was going to ask actually if that was considered discrimination.
Okay, so, but ask the question how you asked it at the beginning.
Shit, I can't remember honestly. What was the question?
We just asked that.
I don't even remember, man. I think it was, if equally qualified light skinned person versus a dark skinned person, one had messed up grill and the other one didn't. You mentioned that it was up to the hiring person.
And the question was actually, how do we fix it?
Yeah, okay, yeah, right.
The question. So here's the deal. It'll never be fixed, and here's why. It won't be fixed as long as people have opinions, taste, and preference. That's everybody. So the next baby that was just born, at some point that baby gonna have taste. At some point that baby gonna have their own opinions, and at some point that baby's gonna be able to say, you know what, I prefer this over that. So it'll never be fixed.
Right.
As long as people got a preference, opinion, and taste on what they want, it'll never be fixed. You just hope that people will treat people fairly and not be racist.
Fair and equal.
Black on black, not
agree.
be racist. Everybody has a form of prejudice about them,
I agree.
even me.
I agree.
Everybody has some prejudice in them.
I totally agree.
So that's not going away. You just hope that you got some good, decent people that just want to do right in mankind, right by mankind, and not be a racist person. But as long as you got opinions and able to make your own choices and decisions, it's never going anywhere. It'll always be here.
I mean, it's gotten to the point to where black parents actually, when they're naming their child, we've talked about this. They focus on the name because they don't want it to sound a certain way, knowing that this could affect, the future of that child. That back in the day, that I don't think that was really an issue.
No, it wasn't, because there was names all over the place.
You know what?
Because-
You know why back in the day that wasn't an issue in the black community?
Why?
I don't think it was an issue in the black community because I don't think that we were thinking that we could actually have what we have today, or what we.
They didn't see the big
today.
picture.
No.
Yeah, because you got to think. We say this a lot on the show. Man, we only got civil rights in '64.
Right. It ain't been that long.
So as the
40
time,
something.
as the times change, and you starting to see, okay, the things that we thought that we couldn't get, they're more obtainable now. And because these things are more obtainable now, they're putting more hurdles in front of us to obtain those things. Right. So how do we get past those hurdles? Now that we got equal rights, now they put this roadblock in front of us. Now they put this road. How do we get past that? Okay, for starters, let's try to get names that people can't readily identify as black names.
Right.
Now we know that we're supposed to have equal rights, and they put these hurdles and blocks in front of us. So how do we get past that? Okay, well, we need to start naming our black kids common names to where they can't be judged when they go get a home equity loan. Or not a home equity, a home loan. So, or if they're going to go
For educational purposes.
educational purposes. Let me
denied
change the
grants.
name.
Or a job,
Yeah.
job on the resume.
Yeah.
So a lot of that plays a part. All the way down, let me show you how simple it is. I know I get a little long.
Nah, that's cool.
Let me show you how simple it is, man. All the way down to your email address. If you got an email address, Long One Hung, you understand what I'm saying? And you going to go apply for a job, and you put Long One Hung.
That's going right in 513.
Man, what the hell? All the way down to your email address.
Yeah, I agree.
Ain't nobody trying to deal with that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think we've come, we have come a long way. Again, like you said, Freddie G, 64 is when we've finally got the, what was it?
Civil Rights.
Civil Rights Act. We've come a long way since then, and we still have a long way to go. the black fact that I wanted to talk about today, man, this young politician named Noah. Well, he's not a politician yet, but I can see him being a future politician. Noah Nebraska he was blessed enough to be able to go to the Democratic National Convention, which just happened this past week, and he was a special guest on the Breakfast Club show, and they were just talking to him, and that he actually has a viral video that's going around where him and Mike Lindley, I think was the name, Lindell, were going back and forth, and he held his own, to be a young 12-year-old, and he spoke very confident and as if he knew exactly what he was talking about. Now, why Mike Lindell chose to entertain this 12-year-old, I can't tell you, but I feel like in doing so, he made himself look very bad. Again, Noah is our black fact because I can see Noah possibly being, our future president, which Barack was the first black president, but with Barack becoming the first black president just shows the opportunities that our kids have nowadays. Peace out. This concludes another Black Friday episode. And be sure you tune in next week for another dope episode of Music Monday with Slash. Don't forget to follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter, at 52 Scott Podcast, Instagram and Facebook, The 52 Scott Podcast.